So awkward. Filming after not filming for a really long time is so uncomfortable, especially when it's just me in my room by myself. But my roommates are here, so it's awkward because they can hear me. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while and I feel like I have some explaining to do. So I've been a bit MIA these past couple of months because I've kind of been figuring some things out. So 2017 for me has been kind of finding myself again. As cheesy as that may sound, that's what I've been doing. And that kind of brings us to the point of today's video. I'm gonna be doing a bullet journal flip through with you guys. I started bullet journaling at the beginning of 2017 and I just wanted to kind of share my year with you, share my bullet journaling experience, and really just let you guys know what I've been up to since I haven't been sharing with you guys recently. If you guys like this video, make sure to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. So here's what I've been doing so far in 2017. So in the front cover of my journal, I like to keep some sticky notes just for some non-permanent little notes that I need to make. They're really great if you need to move events around and things like that. Then I have my index. I like to keep it a couple of pages long just because I do love lists and notes, so I wanted to make sure I had plenty of room for all of those notes. The next pages are my goals for 2017. I had 3 different sections, so I had some financial goals, some health goals, and then some professional goals that I wanted to achieve. So I just briefly listed those on this page so I can refer back to them throughout the year. And then my future log. I kind of like how this turned out, but then I also kind of wish that I would have made it 2 pages because this section down here at the bottom, there was not enough room to write down all of the important dates that I had throughout this first half of the year. As you'll see, all of these are April dates. So that was kind of frustrating and something that I will think about in the future. These 2 pages are lists that I made to help me keep up with my goals that I mentioned a minute ago. So I have things that I want to learn throughout the year and then books that I want to read. And so each time I have something new that I want to learn or each time I get a new book, I just add it to the list and then mark it off once I feel like I've achieved it. These are more lists that I wanted to have at the front of the book so I can refer back to them throughout the year. So I have some video ideas that I've been adding a lot to recently, and then a wish list of just different big dollar items that I want to purchase eventually, but not right in that moment. These 2 pages, the waiting for, as I like to call them, I got this idea from another YouTuber, but ended up not using them at all. So I do not think I'll have this in my next bullet journal. This page I kept blank because I was going to cut out some pictures and quotes from a magazine to make a vision board, but I ended up not doing that, so it's just a blank page. And then over here we have my first monthly spread. I'm a visual person, so I loved having this calendar at the top so I could physically see where all of the dates lined up and everything like that. But this important dates section at the bottom got very unorganized. The dates are all out of order and there's a lot of random February dates in there, and I just was not pleased with how this looked. I decided to put a habit tracker because there were just some things like reading a book every day and drinking water every day that I wanted to keep track of throughout the year. So I enjoyed having that. And then I also, had a goal to be more financially responsible, but I never filled out my expense tracker for the month of January, even though I made this nice little chart. It never happened. I decided not to do weekly setups in my bullet journal at first. I just wanted to use daily spreads. The top half of this page has my schedule on the left side and then what I actually did that day on the right. And I use these little bars and dots to kind of section off events and tasks. And then at the bottom, I have my to-do list. And I decided to use these open circles to indicate whether or not I got a task done or I needed to move it. And since there normally was a bit of empty space here at the bottom, I decided to put some random notes about how I was feeling that day or something specific that happened. You'll see throughout my journal that I have some random lists and notes. This page in particular was from a morning worship service at my church back home. I really like taking notes so I can reflect back on the things that were discussed during the service. On this page, I kind of realized that I didn't need to necessarily schedule out my weekends or even random days throughout the week, so I just took out the scheduling section completely and just had 2 separate to-do lists for Saturday and then Sunday, and then a note section for the entire weekend at the bottom. So here we have February. You'll see that I still did not make a vision board, so this page is blank, but I really liked how I was able to organize this better. I made it like a little chart, and I kept the dates in order for the most part, but one thing that I didn't like was you'll see here on the 12th, I had 2 separate events that I had to go to, and they're not even next to each other. So that was still kind of frustrating, still kind of unorganized, but I was able to smooth a couple of things out. So I did a pretty good job of tracking my habits. You'll see there was some space in the middle where I kind of slacked off. Once again, I drew out an expense tracker and never actually tracked any of my expenses. So over here, I only did a to-do list for Sunday, and I had a lot of extra space. So you'll notice that throughout my journal, I decided to use a good amount of blank space to do like random brain dumps, just some random like notes and lists that I needed to get out to fill up that space. You'll notice on page 39 that I decided to do away with this bulky open circle system and to start using the original minimal system that was created and used by the bullet journal creator. So instead of using open circles and filling them in, I decided to use little dots and Xing them off once I completed a task. And I also switched from using the lines and dots to these little brackets in my scheduling. I just felt like it gave the entire page a more minimal and clean feel. Just in case you guys didn't realize, I love lists. So like I said, throughout my bullet journal, I have like random notes from classes and just some random lists, like things that I need to buy, things that I need to do. So these couple of pages are a great example of how I write my YouTube scripts. I like to pull out some main bullet points and then kind of expand upon that so I have some good talking points once I get on camera. If you guys want to see a full video on how I create my YouTube videos, leave me a comment below. So during March, I decided that I did not like this setup at all. It was just too unorganized. I couldn't put multiple events on the same day, and I realized that I kept forgetting to write down really important events and meetings. So I decided to adopt this format where each day of the month has its own line. So if you do have an event or 1 or 2 events, you can write that down and they're all in the correct order. So this was just a much more organized way for me to look at my month. So here's where my tracking really started to fade. I did relatively well at the beginning of March, but then towards the last couple of weeks, I just stopped tracking altogether. And as you see, I didn't even attempt to make a chart for my expense tracking. So this rapid log layout is something that I found on Instagram that I liked to use for my weekly spread. So I just listed out the days of the weeks and put any super important events and or tasks below the day that I needed to have it complete on. I obviously like to plan way too much. So in late March, I decided to start tracking my cycle. So at the bottom of each page, I would just write what my temperature was that day and what my cervix fluid was like. I am not an expert at tracking my cycle, but if you are interested in learning, I will leave a link to a really popular YouTube channel below. You'll notice on page 80 that I started adding lines to the titles on each page. I did this just to create some separation between the different sections. So here is the next step of my rapid log. I kind of made it a little more organized, still did only the major events and major tasks, but I decided to add my cycle tracking to this weekly page so that I would have all of the temperatures and notes in one place so I could compare how they were different instead of keeping them on different pages. You'll notice that adding the lines next to the dates really helped to break up these weekend pages, and it helped to make everything look more organized and distinct, and it just really solved this problem that I was having about having all of my notes running together. So morning pages is this new journaling technique that I discovered, and you basically just wake up in the morning and write down whatever is on your mind. You're supposed to fill up 3 pages, but I decided to only fill up 1 simply because I wasn't going to be doing this every single morning and I just didn't want to use up a lot of the pages in my journal. I really fell in love with the new spread in March, so I decided to give each day in April 2 lines so that I would have more room to really fill up this with events because I was obviously very busy in April. Here's where you will see the epic failure of both my habit and my expense tracker. I didn't track anything. This rapid log is the last weekly spread that I decided to do. I added Sunday and Saturday, but once I had all of the days, I just felt like this page was so repetitive. So I just decided to do away with it completely because it felt like just a waste of time. On page 100, I decided to start saving all of my produce stickers because I found out about this artist that you can send produce stickers to and he'll use them to create art. So I really wanted to do that, so that's what this page is reserved for. On this page, I decided to get a little more artsy by adding in some cursive handwriting, but this is basically as artsy as my bullet journal gets. Just in case you guys haven't noticed, it's pretty basic. At this point in April, I really realized that I'd fallen off track with my goal to become more financially responsible. Obviously, since I've completely failed with every single expense tracker that I decided to make. So I decided to look back at my goals and get more serious about my financial goal. I broke it down and got more in depth so that I was really able to apply this later in the year. Also in late April, I realized that I'd fallen off track, so I decided to get more serious about my work. That's when I created this video schedule, and even though this didn't happen, this was a huge turning point for my year because it helped me get back on the right track to start creating the video that you're watching right now and to start creating new projects. I finally found a monthly layout that I love, so the May layout stayed exactly the same as April. Since I did away with my weekly rapid log, I needed a new place to track my cycle, so I decided to replace my habit tracker with a temperature tracker. And I finally started tracking my expenses. Revisiting my goals really helped me start to get back on track with that. Since I don't have as many events and tasks in June, I made the monthly layout one page, and then I had room for my expense tracker on the next page. I decided to change the layout and make it look more like your checkbook would look. I also decided to expand my cycle tracker to 2 pages so that I could track my temperature and also how I was feeling throughout each day of the month. At the beginning of June, I decided to change my daily layout and my to-do list so I could prioritize more. So I start off with setting an intention for the day. So for example, this day's was to rest and recharge and take things slow. And then I list off my top 3 tasks that I must get done that day. And then under if there is time, I have any other tasks that I'd like to get done but aren't as important as the top 3. And that brings us to the day that I filmed this video. So now I can go ahead and put a little X by film, bullet journal, and voiceover. That is my bullet journal look through.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna try to post, more regularly, not just go off the grid for 3 months again. So if you guys are interested in seeing more videos from me, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.